Welcome back to Andersen Acres. We're out here with Arwen today, and today we're talking about bottle feeding equipment that you should have on hand, just in case. Even if you don't plan on bottle feeding, it's always good to be prepared. Things don't always go as you expect. So maybe a doe rejects her kid, or maybe she doesn't have quite enough milk and needs a little help. Maybe you end up taking in an orphaned or rescued baby and you need to bottle feed them because there is no mama. Or mama just has too many babies to feed on her own. Remember, goats and sheep, they have like 2 teats. They can have 3, 4, even 5 babies. They may not be able to feed them all, right? They may not be able to pull it off. She's napping in the sun because it's nice. So if mama has too many babies, you may have to feed some of them. It doesn't mean they can't stay with mama. It just means you may be feeding a baby or 2 if mama can't feed them on her own. So having the right supplies ready can make a world of difference. So first up, what do you need? A bottle. You need a few bottles kicking around. You have a couple of options, and some work better than others depending on your situation. Okay, you can buy actual livestock bottles with the nipples. You can buy those and you can wash them up and you can have them ready to go. You can absolutely do that. You can also, in a pinch, a lot of us who have had children, I've had 2 kids, and I bottle fed my children. So I do have in a random cupboard somewhere a couple of old baby bottles. In a pinch, you can use those. Or you have a baby that you have to pull and you have to get a bottle right now. You can, yes, run to your local whatever store. Maybe you have a Walmart, or it doesn't matter. Whatever you have. I don't know where you live. But wherever you live, we have a giant tiger. So wherever you happen to live, you can run to the store and buy some baby bottles. They will work in a pinch. They aren't ideal, and they're not always the best fit for goats, because remember, goats aren't humans. Just because we call them kids doesn't make them human. But those nipples aren't always ideal for a baby goat, so you might want to look into getting something better, but in a pinch, big stretch. Yeah. But in a pinch, it's better than nothing, right? In a pinch, it's better than nothing. So, the next best thing, the thing I prefer, my personal favorite, is a Pritchard nipple. These are red screw-on nipples, and they fit on, yes, you can buy bottles with them that they fit on, but they also fit on your 2-liter soda bottles, your water bottles, all those standard size bottles that you have. You know, if you have bottled water, if you have a bottle of Pepsi or whatever, single serve or 2-liter, they do typically fit on them. They screw on perfectly. I like to use these because I can use, we have like Pepsi and 7-Up bottles and stuff and water bottles. So I can use that. I can drink the 7-Up, then I can clean out the bottle, and I can use the bottle for the baby. And then when I've used that bottle for the whole day, I just recycle it and get a different bottle. So that really works well, and the Pritchard nipples store really easy because they're not very big. You can store them in a container or in a drawer and just clean them really well before use. These are my preference. Okay, so if you can get your hands on some Pritchard nipples and have them in a drawer before you even think of having baby kids born on your farm, just have them in a drawer. You might not need them. Mama might be fine and might deal with her babies really fine on her own. But if you do need them, it's good to have them. If you do have Pritchard nipples, you want at least a couple of bottles that go with them. So if you frequently have bottles of water, or you frequently have soda or juices that come in the same type of container, you can just use that. Okay, you can, in a pinch, you don't have to have necessarily something specific stored, and that's fine. If you don't, get a couple of bottles that, when paired with a Pritchard teat, do make a bottle. So you can buy a couple and have them stored. You do need something to go with that Pritchard nipple. So I just use the pop bottles we have. But if you don't typically have those, having a bottle or 2 stored, washed up in your cupboard is not a bad thing. If you have a lot of bottle babies at the same time, hopefully you don't, because honestly, I don't love having bottle babies. But if you do have a lot of bottle babies at the same time, you can look into a lambar feeding system. This is kind of like a bucket with a whole bunch of nipples. It can save you a ton of time and get all your babies lined up, and they can just be drinking their milk. and it will save you a whack ton of time instead of having to sit there, pick up each baby and hand feed them. I don't love doing that, but if I had like more than 4, I would go with a feeding system that just allowed them to directly nurse, because there's no way, there's literally no way you're going to sit there with 12 babies and feed them each for 10 minutes each every morning and then at lunch and you're just not going to do it. It's just bonkers. So if you have a lot, you might want to look into a feeding system. I do really prefer the Pritchard teats, even in a feeding system, if you can. They are specifically designed for goat kids. They have a small valve that lets milk flow kind of naturally, similar to how a baby would nurse from a doe. And they do, again, attach right to soda bottles, making them really, really convenient. I like to keep a handful of those nipples in the drawer. And right now we don't have a mama having babies. No, she's not pregnant. We don't have a mama having babies right now, but I still have my Pritchard nipples, and I'm not getting rid of them because we are going to get back into goat breeding. We have had babies before. We had Arwen when she was a baby. We had her sister, and we had their mom. But we are going to get back into that, and I knew I was going to, so I didn't get rid of my Pritchard nipples. I still have a drawer full, and you should. I like to keep a few on hand because you never know when you're going to need them, and they're easy to clean and reuse. What else do you need? Well, you need something to go in the bottles. Great, you have a bottle. What do you put in it? Fresh goat milk is always your best option, but a lot of us are not going to have that available. So, alternatives to fresh goat milk. Well, you can get goat-specific milk replacer. If you go this route, you need to make sure you're getting one specifically for baby goats. Some of the all-purpose replacers or even the calf replacer do not have the right balance of nutrients. Okay? So if you're going with the milk replacer option, make sure it's goat specific. It shouldn't be all purpose. It shouldn't be a calf replacer. It should specifically be for baby goats. Okay. If you can't get that, your next best option is actually whole cow's milk. Go to the store, buy a 4-liter jug of whole milk. Okay. Pasteurized is absolutely 100% fine. Don't worry about it. It doesn't matter. But the whole milk has the fat. If you want to up the fat content, add a little bit of heavy cream or whipping cream into the whole milk. Just in a 4 liters, I would only add like half a cup. That just ups the fat content and helps your baby goats get the fat they need to grow. Because they do need a significant amount of fat in their diet to grow. So whole cow's milk, that's actually my go-to. If I'm bottle feeding, I'm using whole cow's milk. You just run to the store and get it. Okay, it's the most widely available thing you can find, but it should be whole. If you can't get whole and you're like having to use 2%, you're going to have to also add a lot of heavy cream or whipping cream to get that fat content up. You need that buttermilk fat in the milk. So yeah, add in your heavy cream or your whipping cream if you have to. Just make sure they're getting that fat content. In an emergency, in a pinch, let's say you have baby born in the middle of the night and mama won't feed it. What do? You can mix whole milk, evaporated milk, and a little yogurt to provide that necessary nutrition initially. That's cats knocking things over. There's cats up there knocking things over. Literally, a cat just fell off the barbecue on a tray. I didn't catch that on camera, but it was very funny. Okay. Cats, man. What are you going to do? There goes a duck again. Duck, 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 duck. Duck. Bonnie. Goat. Anyway, so yes, in a pinch, you can use some whole milk, evaporated milk, and a little yogurt to provide that first boost of nutrition. Colostrum's better. Okay? Colostrum's better. It's even good to have a colostrum replacer in your cupboard. If you don't, you do the best you can with what you've got, and you just try. Right? But it is best if you can get actual colostrum or colostrum replacer, but in an emergency, whole milk, evaporated milk, and a little yogurt to provide that initial... Why are we all so loud? No answer? Donald? Donald has no answer. So yes, you do what you can with what you've got, but ideally you need that colostrum and then you need to get that baby on a bottle. If you're using milk replacer, always follow the mixing instructions on the package. I like to use a whisk to mix it up, or if I have one available, a shaker bottle, There needs to be no clumps, okay? You don't want digestive issues. So if you are using a powdered replacer, powdered formula, you need to make sure there's no undissolved formula. Whisk it up, put it in a mix, do something. Put it in a blender if you have to. Do something to make sure there's no lumps, okay? So I usually just shake the bottle, and if you shake it long enough, it's fine. But if you can't shake the bottle, or you don't have time because you have lots of babies, or if you're preparing a large amount of formula, you can use a blender if you have to. All right, other equipment. A few extra tools that will make bottle feeding easier and safer for your babies. You want a measuring cup. You want some measuring cups and a scale, or a scale, depending on how you measure, how your high. So depending on how specifically your formula needs to be mixed, it helps keep track of how. It also helps keep track of how much actual formula your babies are drinking. That's important, especially if they're starting to struggle. So have some measuring cups and a scale so you can measure and mix the formula correctly, and so you can keep track of how much babies are eating and drinking. You want some kind of either a bottle warmer or some kind of hot water bath. You need to warm that milk to like 101 to 103 degrees Fahrenheit, around 40 degrees Celsius. You need to be in that zone. It doesn't have to be perfect. It's okay if you're only at 100, it's fine. But it does need to be warm milk. Just like mama goat's milk. If it's too cold, they won't drink it. And if it's too hot, they could get burned. Also a thermometer. That helps make sure the milk's at the right temp. No, you can't test it on your wrist. I know you feel like maybe you should be able to, but be accurate. Get a cheap thermometer. You just get a little digital thermometer at your pharmacy. They're cheap. Also, you're going to need extra nipples and bottles because the number of times you are going to need spare bottles and nipples is going to get ridiculous. Okay? Have some extras. That's why I have a drawer full of Pritchard teats, even though I've never needed more than 2 at once. But I have like 12. You might lose one, you might drop one, and now it's dirty and contaminated, especially if you dropped it out here where all this muck is. Yeah, or it's mucky right now. So, yeah, you definitely want to have extra bottles, extra teats. You just need them, okay? They might get lost, they might get damaged, they might get stepped on. You literally might put one down and have no idea where you put it for 10 minutes. Just go get a clean one. You'll figure it out eventually. You want cleaning brushes as well. These are good to help prevent bacterial buildup in your bottles and your nipples. Those nipple brushes, those bottle cleaning brushes with the little narrow ends that you can get down into the nipple, that is what you want. Okay? You want something that you can really keep everything clean. I know you guys love the muck. They're enjoying the heck out of themselves. The chickens are standing on a mound to say stay dry. These guys are like, love the muck. He loves the muck. Anyway, cleaning brushes. Yes, you want those. Remember not to microwave the milk, okay? Uneven heating can create hot spots and burn the little kid's mouth. Instead, hot water bath or a bottle warmer. If you have to use the microwave in a pinch, make sure you mix it up really well so there aren't any hot spots. Having these supplies that we've just talked about ready before you need them makes bottle feeding a lot easier on you and on the babies. Even if you never have to use them, it's better to be prepared than scrambling in an emergency. Pritchard teats, bottles, milk replacer, measuring tools, these little things can make a huge difference in raising happy, healthy kids. They'll make your lives easier and they could save a baby's life. So definitely be prepared. That's about it for us here today at Andersen Acres. Let me know in the comments if you've ever bottle fed a goat before. What was your go-to setup? What stuff can't you live without? We'll see you tomorrow.